So, as we do with everybody, we have them put together a Google spreadsheet, Google sheet with tracking documentation in it. So in addition to having the ISA send an end of day to the team leader, we also have them fill out their daily activities in the sheets here so we can crunch the numbers. And so this is Will's first week. He would get on the phone last Friday, and actually last Thursday, sorry. And actually last Thursday and Friday, he actually did get one listing appointment and his second day on the phones. And the listing appointment actually turned out to be a flip that Tony's going to make about $40,000 on. So essentially his ISA paid for himself on the second day. But do not go and hire an ISA just because of that. I don't want to oversell the opportunity. It worked out really well for him. But that being said, you can see that, his dials are good. We're looking for $300 to $500 a day. His contacts are great. We're looking for 30 to 50 contacts a day, appointments. 3 appointments in your first full week on the phone is, in my opinion, amazing. We're looking, and honestly, usually by the end of the first, we're not looking for, we're not expecting anybody to hit 3 appointments a week in general till month 4. I mean, the first 90 days that an ISA is on the phone, they're basically going to pay for themselves. That's pretty much what we're planning on, is that the money you spent to have us hire them, their 3 months worth of salary, and the money you spent on leads, we fully expect that the ISA is going to set enough appointments and get you enough deals by the end of those 90 days to pay for themselves. So we're way ahead of the curve here. You can see on the left-hand side, if you haven't read this study from the Keller Group, or the Keller, whatever they called it, the Keller Institute at Baylor, go read the study in Google. Is cold calling dead? They did a whole study on cold calling, and their study basically said that, and what they did is they hired a bunch of agents to make calls, all cold calls, and literally no expireds, no withdrawals, just cold calls, no expireds, no withdrawals, anything like that. And from straight cold calling, what they found is that they got 1 listing appointment for every 60 contacts, 1 listing sold for every 120 contacts. So you can see here, just in his first week, he's at 60 contacts to an appointment and 7.625 contacts to a nurture. So he's off to a great start. These are great numbers. And here's the good news. It's available to anybody. This guy, now just so you know, this guy had phone sales experience, but he sold his last job was selling scripts in Hollywood. So he would either write the scripts or he worked for somebody who wrote scripts, a famous guy who wrote scripts, and he sold scripts in Hollywood. Basically got his teeth kicked in every day selling, scripts to production studios and movie studios and stuff like that. So he had the chops. He just didn't know how to speak real estate. He's been getting on our, I have an ISA role play call that I do every Monday. He gets on that. We do numbers review. We role play issues and challenges. And then we got on the phone twice, and he's off and running. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. And so just, I want to point out a couple things here, and you guys, measure this against kind of where you're at. There's some things to take note here. This was circle prospecting, which makes it even more impressive. So we've got a contact rate of 9%. Where's yours at? I mean, use that as a benchmark. I personally think that if you're just circle prospecting, 9.26% is pretty damn solid. I'd say that in most cases, circle prospecting, you're looking like at 4 to 6%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's solid. Where are you at? We just want to measure up and see. We can find out what data they're calling, you know what I mean, and help everybody out. Also, dials to contacts, 10, right? That's a reflection of the contact rate, so that's better than average. Dials to appointment, 658. That's pretty much right on the money. That's why our goal is to make $500 a day, right?
I mean, yeah, you're looking, I mean, when you start adding in everything, expireds, withdrawals, FSBOs, nurtures, circle prospecting, home eval leads, you're going to be somewhere between 45 and 50 contacts to an appointment, pretty much.
Yep, 61 contacts to an appointment here. So like we say, on the money, this right here, contacts to nurture, like usually that's like 15. And so to see 7, especially circle prospecting, I think that is awesome. So, just compare your numbers, guys, to these, and it'll, if you're similar, hey, you're not way out there in a different galaxy here. If you are way off, if your contact rate is 2 or 3%, send Wally or I a message, and let's try to diagnose why that's the case. But long story short, now we're going to move on. But a super good start. I mean, you're talking about talk about a fast start. So we'll keep track and see how things continue with Will, but that's awesome. Moving on to today's next topic, it's going to be our 7-minute slides presentation. As we'd mentioned before, we're going to cram, or not cram, but just kind of keep things centered around the 7-minute presentation as we go through these slides, which is kind of a topic of the week. So I'll do my best here to stay on track. But today's is how to master tonality, which is so important. We can talk about it, you know, everybody's probably heard it before, but it's not nearly as much as what you say as it is how you say it, how you deliver it, and there's a lot of different things that can affect that. And so that's what we're gonna talk about here as we go through these slides real quickly. Again, these are not meant to be super in-depth. Wally, I know, and excuse the graphics here, guys, but it's the message that I want to get across. But so mastering tonality, 55% of how our message is received is related to body movements, face. Are you smiling when you talk, or are you frowning when you talk? Are you opening up your chest? Are you standing up? Are you excited? All that has, you can't like, it's, I swear, try to go, and I'm so excited, and then try to be angry at the same time. Like, try to get all enthusiastic and then get all angry. It's nearly impossible. It's kind of like the patting your head and rubbing your stomach, although I can do that one. 7% is only the words that we're saying. And so we can sit around and try to get crafty and fancy. You can go get your thesaurus and you can try to be Mr. Harvard and talk all complicated or whatever. I promise you, it ain't going to get you nowhere. It's going to confuse your prospect. It's going to make them feel like this person is way over my head. I don't need to work with that person. I like stuff simple. And a lot of that comes down to trying, we're under the impression like that there's some, you know, words or, and there are some words that make a difference, but don't overcomplicate things, because you'd be better off spending that time most likely focusing on your motion, right? Motion creates emotion, and that's going to relate to the other 38%, which is the tone of your voice, the modulation, the modality, the pauses, and when exactly you choose to use them to your advantage. So Wally, I know this is a slide that you've probably seen a million times and talked about it the same amount. Why don't you share your thoughts here on this breakdown?
I mean, effectively what we're saying is 93% of what happens has nothing to do with the words that you say. And, you know, even though we don't have the benefit of true physiological connection over the phone, we can use our physiology to our advantage over the phone to impact our tone of voice, right? Standing up, chest out, like you said, you know, all that you can use different physiological states to impact tone of voice, modulation, pitch, quality, volume. So really all of that works to your advantage over the phone. So you gotta do that. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing, like, if you're not in the mood to make calls, get yourself in the mood to make calls. Jump around, have fun, joke around, get in the mood, right? You know,
Yep.
you know, just it's the physical nature. I mean, granted, there's a lot of mental to it, but the physical nature of success is really, really important, and you have to take that in consideration for sure.
Right. Why does the arm move? Why does the hand move to the phone and dial the number? Because my mind told it to do so first, right? And so you've got control of your state of mind. And if I'm in a funky mood and I'm about to ask somebody for some business, or, you know, back in the day, I'm about to ask somebody for some big money or something, and I'm in a funky mood, man, I go outside, I would throw on some music, I'd watch a clip on YouTube with some sales, something, I would jump up and down, spin around or something, because I can fake myself. Mentally, I recognize that I'm not in the right state of mind, so I can tell my brain to cause my body to replicate movements that are similar to those movements and when I am in the right state of mind, right? And so it all starts with, number one, acknowledging the fact that if you ain't in the right mindset, you can change it. And let's do something right now, not tomorrow. Today's a crappy day, just 6 more hours and I can start over. No, you know, so first is acknowledgement, and then understand that it starts right here. I'm going to change my mindset right now, and here's how I'm going to do it, right? Go watch The Breakfast Club. I mean, you know, shoot. But it is 93%, like Wally said, has nothing to do with the words that you say. And so this is another point where, you know, I see people a lot of times try to rewrite their script a million different ways. They go a week maybe without getting a couple appointments, and they start to think that it's their script, and they start trying to reword their script. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you say. It's how you say it and your conviction and how you deliver it, I promise. Would you agree, Wally?
1000%.
I could call people up and tell them, it don't matter. Really, it don't matter. And they just, in the first a couple seconds anyhow, guys, we know. I'm just trying to get their attention. I'm trying to they're tied to something else, and we're just trying to shake them loose long enough so that now we've got their full undivided attention and they can hear what we're talking about. Until we shake them loose or whatever else it was, it don't matter what we say. Now the second, what's that, Wally?
No, sir.
So the first thing, 3 tips here on how you can start to get better at mastering tonality. Again, these are not supposed to be overcomplicated. These are supposed to be exercises and a methodology that you can put to work immediately. So, and my 7 minutes is up, so I'm going to try to get through these so that I can stay on time. But number 1 is open your mouth wider, right? Open your mouth so you can articulate what it is that you're trying to say. If you're driving in the car to work, come up with something that you can say as you're driving. I usually say, I've said it before, but one of the connotations that I say that I got off Brian Tracy, I think it was, is today I will win. You want to know why? Because I have faith, courage, and enthusiasm. That's why. Today I will win. You want to know why? Because I have faith, courage, and enthusiasm. That's why. And I say it 3 times, and it causes me to open my mouth. I can say, I close deals creatively. I close deals creatively. Forces me to open my mouth. Hey, what? Huh?
Hey.
So open your mouth wider. Tip number 1. Number 2, record yourself. Wally, what do you think about that?
As far as I'm concerned, that's one of the best. Next to having somebody sit next to you say, okay, that was good, that was bad. That is one of the best ways that you can learn. I promise you, until you, and here's the thing, and this is, listen, if you want to be good on the phone, this is something you just have to get over. People are like, oh, I hate the way that I sound. I hate the way that I sound. I mean, the reason that we sound different when we listen to ourselves is because we're hearing ourselves from inside of our head. Everybody else hears us differently. So our voice is supposed to sound different to us than it will to somebody else. Because when we hear ourselves, we're hearing ourselves from, inside. So the important thing is if you really truly want to get better, you will listen to your calls and you'll let somebody else listen to those calls and give you feedback on it. Because especially when you hear something that you said that was not good, that's going to create the requisite amount of negative feedback that you need to never do it again. Right? You're like, oh God, that sounded terrible. I'll never say that again. So it's, and the thing is that, listen, if you're looking to collapse the time between where you are and being amazing on the phone, again, next to having somebody like Jeff sit next to you and say, okay, here's what went well, here's what didn't go well. The next best thing is to you listen to that call with somebody who is as good or even better than you, get on the phone or get on and listen to that call. That'll collapse time tremendously to get you from where you are to, being a master on the phone quickly.
100%. And by the way, I should have added something there. It's easy to record yourself. What's not so easy is to listen to yourself.
Yeah, yeah, true.
So, don't just record yourself. You got to actually go back and listen to it. That's the tough
the bass sound, right?
And then the last one is speak from your chest, not your head. And I want you to really think about that, right? Think about that. Like we're always stuck right here and like overcomplicating it, and it's all up here in our head, and we're trying to just chill. It's just a conversation. Just ask some questions. It's no big deal. And then speak from your chest. Don't be all up here. You tend to stop everything. It goes from your brain to your mouth. It don't have a lot of space to build momentum versus from my diaphragm all the way up to my chest and then bam, right? So speak from your chest. Speak from your chest, not your head. What's that, Wally?
Isn't that Kevin Hart?
Yeah, right? That's it. It is, huh? Yeah. I think it was one of his comedy show specials.
One of his bits, yeah.
One of his bits. So speak from the chest, guys. Again, record yourself, speak from the chest, open your mouth wider, and remember 97% has nothing to do with the words that you're saying. So give yourself a break. Give yourself a break as far as that goes, and plow through. Plow through, man. Nothing like we said before, Wally. How many people died on the other end of the phone? I don't know. Not many.
I'm unaware of anybody passing. And I've spent 1,500 hours doing research on this, yet to find anybody that died prospecting or bled or got hurt, lost hair or skin. So, think you're good.
All right. So next up is we've got our call submissions. So a shout out to everybody who's been submitting calls. Mark, you've been killing it. You're super engaged. We're going to listen to a couple calls of yours today. Eddie is killing it. Like last time I looked at the dashboard, he got 30 appointments. So I'm super excited to hear about how some of those are turning out. Tucker, thank you. You got one uploaded on there. It looks like you tried. Maybe it didn't get attached. Svetlana, you got one up there. So that's awesome. Let's get more people uploading these calls, and let's listen to one right now. How about that? You ready, Wally?
Rock and roll.
All right.
Yeah?
Hello, I was looking for the owner of 17849 Agua Miel.
Not interested for any new agent or selling. Thank you so much. Bye. And it's not
You're
calling me.
not
Oh, my husband.
interested. You're not interested in getting your home sold this year?
Yes. Thank you.
What made you change your mind?
We are not looking for any agent. Every time we cancel something, people keep calling us, and this is my cell phone. And I don't want anybody calling me at work.
Well, I can appreciate that. The best way to have us stop calling is to get it sold, though. Are you still interested in having it sold?
If we know an agent to go with, the reason is that because I had a feeling
So I just want to stop here. That's good, dude. I mean, hey, I would have been there all day long, Mark. I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. The best way to get it to stop, the best way to get these phone calls to stop is to get it sold. You know, I mean, shoot, when are you going to be ready to list with an agent that can finally sell your property?
I love that. You know, it's somebody, it's interesting. I was doing an ISA interview yesterday, and I always ask in my interview, I always ask them, how do you respond when somebody says I'm not interested? Great response. This lady, she said, I wouldn't expect you to be interested because I haven't even told you what it is yet.
Yeah. But again, I mean, those, like, you mean you're being sarcastic and that you like that?
No, that's good. Hey, listen, I wouldn't expect you to be interested because we haven't even talked about what it is yet.
I know. I just, and this is where Wally and I are just spitballing back and forth. But like, I've been down this road a million different ways and tried to sneak past that one every possible way. And I used to do exactly that. Well, I understand you wouldn't be interested. I hadn't even had a chance to tell you why I'm calling. But man, it's my philosophy, guys, is where does that get me? Right. So I bridged the gap a little bit, but where am I? I'm still right at the same damn place. And
But you're still talking on the phone, and that's what matters.
I'm still talking on the phone, right? But if we go to what we said yesterday, it could have said, no problem. I understand. That's actually exactly why I'm calling. Can I ask you why you were looking to sell your home in the first place? And we could have went there, right? And what it's going to do, it's going to agitate your customer at this stage when you try to say, like, well, the best way to get the calls to stop is to get it sold. At this point, you haven't built any kind of rapport, trust, or credibility to where you can drop that, right? I mean, structurally, you would close after you've established value and that there's been an agreed upon perception there that there's a fair exchange. So here's what I can do for you. Granted, you're getting handed by agents, but I believe that we can sell the property for up to 18% more because of the strategies that we use that are unlike anything that a traditional agent would use. Do you think that that kind of system could possibly get a different result? That would be the value. If she said, yeah, maybe, that's the agreement, then I can get these phone calls stopped for you. When can I come by and talk about getting your home sold? And then I could close, but like at that stage, what that is that's the school, like, we're in the school, you're like, oh yeah, you're not interested, but the best way to get it is to get it sold. And it's, you know, we're taking an adversarial stance, I think, instead of like, don't emotionally react. That's interesting. Why would you say that? Or great, that's exactly why I'm calling. Or if you follow our scripts, it would have worked perfect right there. I can tell you're probably getting hounded by a lot of agents already since your home had come off the market. I can tell, you know, just by the frustration that I sense that you're probably getting calls. You probably had everybody tell you everything under the sun talking about buyers and they haven't even seen the home yet. Have you heard some of those things? I completely understand why you're so frustrated. Let me ask you this. If you were to look to sell the home again, if you had to guess, when do you think it might be? None of this is like, do something with me, do something with me, do something with me. I'm just trying to get her to talk from a non-threatening perspective, right? I'm not, And then I can like build that momentum, and then you get past that 90-second mark, and all of a sudden it's like they're your grandma, and you get a whole different person, right, Wally?
True enough.
But I like it, man. I like it. And, you know, this is one of those where, you know, you're probably not talking to the decision maker, maybe, and it just may not be a good prospect. And we're not here to turn our hair gray, trying to turn everybody into a customer. You know, we're trying to recognize those that are well qualified for us.
Work with directly, so I cancel. So after, like, if sometime I will go with an agent that my previous agent that I was working with.
Okay, and did they?
What do you say, Wally, real quickly? I know everybody would love to hear your perspective when they say I'm going to relist with the same agent.
I mean, okay, and it's, you know, one of the things in this, I got this from Albie States. They say, look, it's perfectly fine if you want to go ahead and relist with the other agent. So to avoid an adversarial situation, say, listen, it's perfectly fine if you want to do that. Let me ask, aren't you concerned that if you list with the same agent that you're going to get the same results?
There you go. So I hope everybody got that. You want to say that one more time?
Yeah, listen, it's perfectly fine if you want to list with the same agent. I completely, you know, respect that decision. But my question for you is aren't you concerned that if you hire the same agent, you're going to get the same result? Granted, it's a closed-end question, but it's still, you know, a chart, you know, and then they could say, well, no, and say, look, you know, I can appreciate that. Let me ask before you go ahead and make that decision, you know, would you be open to getting a second opinion if I could show you how you could get an extra, you know, up to $5,000 to $10,000 more? Now, look here. So here's the thing: what you want to try and do is, you know, we want to list with the same agent. We still haven't gotten to the root of the problem, you know. So something to the effect of, it's perfectly fine that you want to go ahead and list with the same agent. I can appreciate that. Let me ask: aren't you concerned that if you hire the same agent, you're going to get the same result? No, we're not. Okay, I can appreciate that. Let me ask, when you put your home on the market, where were you headed? When were you hoping to be there? Why do you think your home didn't sell? Like, it's got to come out like that so you can find the problem to solve. Because I could say, listen, you know, wouldn't you like, you know, if I could show you a way to get an additional $5,000 to $10,000 more, or look, I've got a proven repeatable system backed by market research that gets my clients up to 80% more for their homes than the methods used by traditional agents. That may not be the problem that needs to be solved. Right? I mean, so you want to make sure you're offering something to them that piques their interest. You want to match, right? Message to market match. You want to match your solution with what they want. Maybe that other agent wasn't good at contacting them. Maybe that agent was, you know, terrible at marketing, didn't take professional pictures, just dropped the ball, you know? So, but we don't know how to solve that problem. So it's really important. And Jeff alluded to this earlier, and as awesome as I loved, if you want us to stop calling, let us sell your home, as much as I love that, you know, that you need to get down the road a little bit, build some rapport, ask some questions, find it out, and then go in for that. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, how about this? If I could show you a way to stop getting all these phone calls, would you be interested in finding out how I could do that?
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Real quickly, or even if you repositioned it, like, oh, it sounds like so you want the calls to stop, right?
Right.
If I can help you get these calls to stop, that interests you?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Right. You're solving the problem. How do you do that? When can I come over and show you how I can do that?
And then you come over and unplug their phone, or you take their cell phone and stomp on it.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Right. Anyway, point well taken.
And so we got Corey in here commenting, just roll over it, ignore it, keep going. You know, that's tough. I don't know that you can really roll over that one. And then I can, Eddie's says, I can appreciate your loyalty. George is a great agent. Just out of curiosity, what does he plan to do different this time around? I think that's solid. That's along the same lines, you know, as what Wally's saying. Listen, guys, if they're good, like they showed it to everybody they know, whatever their network of buyers agents and stuff are, you have to assume if they did a good job, everybody they know has seen it. And so they either need to do something creative to get more exposure to the property if it's not a price related issue or something, right? I mean, and then, you know, always remember there's no pressure, there's no obligation. You know, for most of my clients, it's a pretty big decision and it's definitely an important decision, and they want to make sure that they make the right decision. I'm sure you're the same way. So worst case scenario, at least you'll know for a fact, having met with more than one individual, that if you decide to go with George, you're making the best decision. I mean, that's really what's most important, right?
Period.
And hey, if it ends up being the case that we can get you $10,000 or $15,000 more when it comes to selling your home, I'm sure you wouldn't be displeased if that's the result, right?
Correct.
So bear that in mind, guys, and let's keep going here. We got about 3 more minutes left on the time I have scheduled for call listening, so we'll get through there.
On the market for you before?
And not this property, but the other properties, yes.
I see. Well, I would love to give you an opinion on how we can get your home.
So right here, right, rather than to get to here, we need to get to why are they looking to sell the property? Do they live in it? Do they rent it? Where do they plan on going? What happened with the previous listing? All of that. Like right now, it's like I just broke into somebody's property. Like I just like hopped over the backyard fence and said, hey, I'm here, right? I didn't go and knock at the front door and stuff. And so you just jumped, like I went from, hey, hello, I'm an agent to, you know, let me, I'd love to come sell you. And no interview in between to understand the motivation behind the individual.
I live and work right in the area. Our office is off of Carmel Mountain Road. So I'm a local agent, sold 53 homes last year, 28 so far this year. The average agent in our county has sold 3 a year. So it's important to pick experience if you'd like to get your home sold this year. Are you available
What's
to
the name
meet
of
this
your
evening?
company?
There we go. There we go. We hooked
Line
it.
signal.
Yeah.
I work with Remax Solutions. I'm one of the broker owners of Remax Solutions.
Still, because we were working.
So I was gonna say, what's my name? Who's my company?
But I love the fact that he still got her on the phone, though. You can't argue with that.
No, 100%, 100%. This is the prime example. You keep them on the phone. You can see, remember in the beginning, like it was up
You
here,
don't call. Leave me alone. Go away. Bye.
right? Flames shooting out. Now you can hear it's calmed down. That wall is coming down. And that's why we're 1 minute and 48 seconds in. We said 90 seconds. If you can get to 90 seconds, you know, you're making some headway.
Person, we may still go with the previous agent that we had.
I can appreciate that, but it would just take 15, 20 minutes of your time this evening. And if you
Gotta
decide,
solve the problem. Gotta solve the problem. Gotta solve the problem.
Yeah, I mean, let me ask you this, and I can appreciate your loyalty to George, like Eddie had said, right? Let me ask you this. I'm just curious, George being as great as he is, why do you think the home didn't sell? Right, and we've got to get to that and get their picture of why they think the home didn't sell. Don't you think, Wally?
We absolutely positively need to get, like we said last time, I'll probably say it every week, you need timing, you need motivation, you need that. Because here's the thing, here's what we're gonna try and do. Here's how we're gonna solve the problem. You know, listen, where were you headed when you put your home on the market? When were you hoping to be there? Why do you think your home didn't sell? Right? So then listen, do you still want to get, do you still want to get, do you still want to move to Redwood, California? Are you guys still hoping to get to Redwood? You still hoping to be there? You still want to get there by a certain period of time? Okay, great.
Can I ask you a question?
Can I ask me personally a question?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What is your plans if by chance it doesn't sell this time with George?
Yeah, that would be the follow-up, right? So, something to the effect of, do you still want to get to Redwood to go be near your grandkids? You do? Okay, super. So, and then you could say, listen, I appreciate your loyalty to George and why you want him, but what if George doesn't get the home sold this time? Are you concerned if you get the same results this time that you did last time? And if he doesn't get it sold, then what are you going to do? What are your plans there? That's kind of how I would.
You know what the definition of insanity is, don't you? That's the stuff I used to use too. There, Mark, you can go with that one. I used to use that stuff. Well, you know what the definition of insanity is, don't you? You're doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result.
Correctamundo.
I like to keep it light.
Yeah, me too.
All right, here we go.
are you available tonight at 5 o'clock?
No, we are
or
not.
6
We
o'clock?
don't want. We are not interested. Please, sir, we are not interested. Thank you.
Please,
When
sir.
would you like to get your home sold, though?
That's different. Yeah, we don't want expenses. Looking for
You
like.
don't want it sold. Liar.
Just 15 minutes.
This is where, again, like 15 minutes, this is the third time now, right? And if she just gave us a couple hints, like that maybe they ain't motivated, right? Maybe it didn't sell because they didn't want to accept something, or there's something there, it sounds like, right? And that's where Wally is right, continuing to point out that we got to get to the timing and motivation. I mean, we might not even want to meet with this person once we figured out that maybe their motivation is wonky, you know, and they've been going through this cycle for 3 years, relisting it every year because they ain't really that motivated. They're just hoping that somebody's going to give them 30% above what it should be worth, maybe. Who knows?
Help you sell a home that you have listed at $849,000. Wouldn't it be worth 15 minutes of your time to talk to an experienced agent about what may not have worked the last time? And
It wasn't 825. It was 849. By the way. Yeah. No, thank you so much. And
Sure.
just add me to your do not call registry or something. Even though Redfin agent mentioned several times that he didn't put any number of us anywhere, and she said probably we will receive calls because she doesn't know where you guys are finding our numbers from. So
yes, ma'am. We use subscription services to introduce ourselves to owners like yourself that need help selling a home. So again.
So Wally, I know this comes up from time to time. This might help somebody. What do you say when somebody says, "Where did you get my information?"
Basically, your information must be public somewhere because I take advantage of a service that goes to different public sites online to gather the information. So
I've always used, that's great. Same thing that I use. You know, I just over the years have kind of gotten scripted response to say that we subscribe to a number of different databases that provides us information on listings that expired, canceled, for sale by owner, that sort of thing. And then I go right into it with another question. You've probably been getting a lot of calls, huh?
Yeah. That's good.
You know, I mean, but that's, so yeah, and it's the, you know, you got to repetition. Like that right there, we subscribe to a number of different databases that provides us information on recent properties that expired. Like I just said it so many times and everything that it's, what were we talking about last night, Wally? All these people that say, man, I don't use scripts. I don't need scripts.
You probably use one every day, don't realize it.
Exactly. Hey, by the way, some of the scripts that we use are exactly the ones that are keeping us from making money. They're these scripts right here.
True that.
20 minutes of your time.
No, thank you.
Tomorrow, whichever would work.
No, thank you so much.
All right, I'm on my way over. I'll see you in 20.
Yeah, thanks.
So, I mean, that is a call that was tough. You know, in my opinion, right there, that's not one, at least the way that it was going on under that pretense, it was not one that was going to probably turn into an appointment right now. However, I would not have any problem whatsoever calling that lead back in like 7 days and hounding that lead until I would go back, of course, and make a second call with the understanding that I got to get some information I didn't get the first time. And maybe that'll be the last call, but now I know there's some stuff I missed on the first call. I'm gonna call that one back. I'm not convinced. Ask better questions, get some better information, and make a decision at that stage. What would you say, Wally?
I think that's perfectly reasonable.
I mean, she did say put you on the do not call list, so I guess that being said, you may not want to call her, but.
Unless you have spoof card.
She has spoof card. Oh yeah, we'll share that tool. Guys, it's something I've been using for years, and it's you can go to spoofcard.com and you can buy credits. Like you can put $10 on this thing and that'll last you a little bit. And here's how you use it is you get those
credits.
How much?
45 calls.
45 calls. And so if you have one of those people that's never answering the phone, you can't get them back to the phone, they canceled on an appointment, you can't ever get them back, you can go to spoofcard.com, you'll type in their telephone number, and then you can also choose what you want the number to show up as on their caller ID. And so you can make the number show up as 77777. So you can make it show up as whatever. You can make it show up as their telephone number. And you talk about piquing somebody's curiosity when they see their own telephone number calling. And you will get people to answer that have not been answering for a month. I promise you. You try it today and you'll get a hold of somebody you've been trying to get a hold of, huh, Wally?
Yeah, pretty awesome.
It is. It's great.
I love it.
All right, so we have 20 minutes left. That's the end of that call. My plan right now is to open it up, and you know, last time it was kind of like pulling teeth to get people to role play. So we've got 20 minutes. Hopefully we don't have to pull teeth today, but let's use this next 20 minutes as an open forum, and let's get it going. So anybody who wants to say something, comment, whatever, unmute yourself.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, Wally.
Hey,
It's
Donna.
Donna. Hi.
Who's this?
Donna.
Donna Paul.
Don Paul. I just wanted to say what I'm finding is that time is of the essence when I call, meaning that if I pick a certain time, I could see more response than the next time. So what I've done is that the other day I would make 300 calls, but not all just sit down for the whole day. But if I do it between 9 to 11, yes. If I do it between 2 and 4, not very productive, but more so maybe 4 until. So I was just tracking my numbers a little bit closely to make sure I look at the time that when I make the calls, because that's more effectively. Do you find that, or it doesn't matter?
So
When
your numbers, and the short answer is your numbers are right on point. That's exactly what the studies that have been done
okay.
also. And I'll let Wally elaborate.
I mean, so how can I explain this? Like, it's just because it's one of these things where you say a number, but then it's not necessarily gospel.
Right, because there are places, man, I got somebody in Boca Raton that has the stats to prove otherwise in his area.
Yeah, exactly, right? 30, that's like what's his name? 60% of the time it works every time. So Donna, here's the deal. 45 to 50 contacts to get a listing appointment, 10 to 15 contacts to get a buyer appointment. Okay, those are standard numbers. Okay, on average, you're going to talk to 23 to 28% of the people that you dial, on average. But that's over time. That's over, like, if you take months and months or weeks and weeks and put that together. But it's different for everybody. It's different based on your skill set. It's different based upon the times that you call. You know, the best thing to do is just to keep a running total of everything you do for, I mean, ideally 60 days would be more indicative, but even 30 days is going to give us an idea. But if you guys can keep track of numbers for 60 days, we can look at it and do two things. We can say, okay, this is how many people you need to talk to get an appointment, how many people you need to talk to get a listing, how many people you need to talk to get a buyer. We can also look at it and say, here's where, you know, you're not calling at the right time of the day, you're not making enough dials, your scripts over the phone aren't where they need to be, the data sets are bad. You're talking to unmotivated people, you're setting appointments with unmotivated people. Like, you know, if we can see those numbers, we can basically tell you where all the holes are, for lack of a better word.
Wow.
But you have to go with the basic numbers are 45 to 50 contacts to a listing appointment, 10 to 15 dials to a listing contacts to a buyer appointment. And on average, you're going to speak to 23 to 28% of the people that you dial on a day-over-day basis. Those are the numbers you got to kind of create your goals on. And then if you keep track of everything for 60 days, you bring it to us, we can pull it apart, tell you exactly what you need to do to get appointments and listings, listings and then sales. And we can also tell you what aspect of your game needs to be strengthened so that and the good news is number one, if you continue to work on it, you're going to improve just by virtue of the fact that you're calling more regularly. And the other thing is, if you don't make any improvements, you know that every 60 contacts you make roughly is going to get you an appointment. And every so many, then based on what you're like face to face, it should be 45 to 50 contacts an appointment and somewhere around 75 to 80 appointments to get a listing sold. But that's going to vary based upon the time of year, the market, your skill set at the kitchen table. So that's another variable. That all makes sense?
Yeah, I got it. For me, it's more about homing in and focusing in order to get the end results.
It's more about what? Honing in?
Homing in, yeah. Meaning that it's not, even if I do quite a few dials, it's not the dials, it's the contacts and how good are the contacts to get the appointments.
But you do have to make a certain number of dials to get a certain number of contacts, right? So it's not about the dials, but dials are a leading indicator for contacts. So it is partially.
Okay.
So yeah, just remember, like if you break it down, I do the exercise on next time you get an appointment that closes, do all the dials that led up to getting that appointment. And if it was 5,000 dials over the course of 2 weeks for me to get that appointment that I listed, then divide that. Your net commissions, $3,000 or whatever it is, divide it by those 5,000 dials. each one of those dials did matter, right? They each have a monetary,
Oh.
they each have a monetary value. But you're right in that the number one thing that matters is qualified conversations. But how do I get to qualified conversations? I gotta make the dials. What I would say, your numbers as far as timing, on from 8 and 11 and seeing a better contact rate there than in the middle of the afternoon, I would say that that traditionally would hold true. What I would suggest, just so that you know for a fact, because what you're doing is right, you're honing in on where the time spent in your day is making the most impact towards having the qualified conversations.
Right.
If I could have 20 qualified conversations from 3 to 6, and I could have 2 qualified conversations for 10 hours some other time, well, screw the 10 hours. I'll just work these 4 where I can get the 20 qualified. And so that's what you're trying to hone in on. I would break your day up into 4 shifts. Well, there's 3 shifts really. You have shift 1, which would be your 8 to, let's say, 11, and measure exactly how many dials you make during shift 1, how many contacts you make during shift 1. And that's going to give us the contact rate for shift 1. Then go to shift 2, 11 to 3 p.m., let's say, right? So that's shift 2. How many dials? How many contacts? That's our contact rate during that time block. And then shift 3, 3 to 6. And you're probably going to see the contact rate in shift 1 and the contact rate in shift 3 is where it's at. And if that's indeed the case, you may want to think about using shift 2 to reach out and stay in touch with your database. You're staying in touch with nurtures, working your sphere of influence, reaching out to people on Facebook, sending text messages, going through the digital channels during those times when you know, because the data shows they're not answering their phone as much. Again, you have to have the information to do any of these things I'm saying. You can't just say it and say go run with it without knowing what your stats are. But I would do that shift 1, shift 2, shift 3, and then on one of these calls in the next 2 weeks, you can share that info with Wally and I, and that'll tell us right there.
Wow, that's powerful. Thanks. That's really a good drawback. And it gets me to home in on exactly when and where I could get more conversation going.
The only way to solve the problem, not solve the problem, poor choice of words. It's the only one it's the only way to really figure out what sort of effort you need to put in to get the results you're looking for. Only way to do it.
Exactly. Thanks. That was great feedback.
Welcome.
Thank you for sharing, Donna.
Yeah.
We need
Who
some
else we got?
people to role play here.
Yeah,
I want to do my FSBO script.
Huh?
FSBO script.
All right.
Let's do it, Eddie.
Lay it on us.
I see you have your home for sale. I just want to see how it's going so far.
Sucks. Thanks.
All right. Well, I just wanted to understand your situation. Is this a home you live in, or is it a rental for you?
Primary residence.
Oh, okay. Do you know where you're moving to when you get this home sold?
Yeah, we actually already have a home. That's why we got to sell this one, and we just it's just not been fun. But you know what? We're going to save money no matter what here. So.
All right. So, what made you decide to try to sell it yourself?
I mean, the market's smoking hot. You know what I'm saying? And we've had lots of agents come by and look at the house, and we just haven't had a nibble yet. But I'm confident it'll get sold. But we look. I mean, you can sell it. I can sell it. Right? There's enough buyers out there.
All right. Fair enough. If I brought you a qualified buyer, would you be willing to pay commission?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay. Well, let's do this. I'm going to pop by and take a look at the house, see what you have there, and talk to you about how I can help you get it sold. What's better, afternoons or evenings to take a look?
I mean, you got a buyer? Is that why you're coming by?
I've never seen your house or even met you, so anybody who would tell you that they have a buyer might be fibbing, but there are plenty of buyers for a nice home such as yours, but the first step is to meet you and see the house. What's better, afternoons or evenings?
I mean, you can go over anytime you want. I mean, I work from home, but I'm not.
You cut out. Could you say that again, sir?
Sorry, somebody's playing their Synsonic drums. I said you can come by anytime you want, but I'm not listing the house. I'm not signing any paperwork.
Well, I don't expect you to sign anything with someone who you spoke to for 2 minutes right now. I just want to take a look at the house. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock be okay?
Sure. Why do you want to look at the house?
How can I offer it to somebody I'm working with if I've never seen it or met you? How can I know who it would work for? Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Good enough. Yeah.
Okay.
Come on by.
Okay, what's your email address?
Why do you need that?
Because I want to send you in advance what I do to connect buyers with sellers. I also want to send you what's called a net sheet so you'll know what you'll walk away with if you allow me to bring you a buyer and get the home sold. What's your email address?
Yeah, but I told you I'm not listing my house with anybody, though.
You don't have to list it to let me bring you a buyer. You said you'd pay me a commission if I know somebody who wants to buy the house. Is that right?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Wally@NAEA.com.
All right. Because if there's a way where I could sell this property for an amount that would cover that commission we talked about and even put a few thousand more in your pocket, you want to hear about how I do that, right?
Yeah, I guess I'd be open to it. I mean, yeah.
Okay. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow at 10. And how much do you owe on the home?
I'm not going to tell you that right now.
Well, I mean, I can look it up on the internet. Everything's on the internet. But I want to have all the information for you. Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, I prefer not to share that with you this time.
All right. Well, I'll see what I see on the internet, and then you tell me in person if it's right. The number I caught you on today, is this your home phone or your cell phone?
This is my cell phone. Does anybody even have a home phone these days?
Only old people. You're not old, are you?
50. I don't consider that old.
All right. Fair enough. Well, thanks for talking to me, and I'll see you tomorrow at 10. Thank you.
All right, good job. Good. So Eddie is obviously not afraid, and I love that about him. And he certainly has his script down pat. And there were a lot of good elements of that, asking good questions. So I'm going to ask him a quick.
I don't know what that is. Well,
I love that he has a good script down. I love that he had no problem asking for the appointment, that he was, definitely some trial closes on trying to get me more money for my home. I loved all that. Eddie, I'm just going to say this to say it, and I don't think you intended that way, but some of your responses when I asked you questions sounded a little adversarial, dude. Like you sounded like you were coming at me, and I don't know that you intended it that way. What?
so I just wrote, Eddie, the same thing. I don't know if I can see it. So tonality and
Yeah.
rapport.
Yeah, right.
Right there.
Yeah, so you definitely sounded a little adversarial. I don't think you intended that, and I think, look, I mean, your style is your style, and you got to go with what works well for you. And if it works well for you, that's good. I'm just you can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar kind of a guy. And I maybe just because I'm such a high D, I go in the other direction as much as I can when I'm talking to people to soften things for them. But I think your responses, I think if you're open to some feedback, in addition to your tonality, I would, I think it'd be helpful if you softened the language that you used a little bit more. Like, how can I sell your home to somebody if I haven't seen it any before, right? Versus, listen, I've got a fiduciary responsibility to my buyers to bring them homes that match only their criteria. So if I can come by and take a look at your home, spend 10, 15 minutes there, I can do a good job and see if one of my qualified buyers would be open to buying your home. That sounds a little softer, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So that's all I'm saying. You just, and the thing is, listen, if you've got lots of appointments and your appointments show up and you sell houses and the approach you took now works well for you, then my feedback is just that. It's just feedback. But I'm just, my inclination from our conversation is that you may want to, make your tone a little more friendly, and you may want to choose wording that appears to be less adversarial when you're talking with people. I love the fact that you said, hey, listen, if I could show you, the reason, and here's the thing, and the reason I asked you why is because you have to tell people why you're doing things because they don't know. And if you tell them why, then it makes more sense to them to let you come over. Why do you want to see my house? The reason I want to come over is that, look, I've got 3,000 qualified buyers in my database that may or may not be may or may not be good buyers for your home, but I've got a fiduciary responsibility to them. So I'd like to go over and take a look at your home and see if it matches any of their criteria. Why do you need it? Can I get the payoff for your home? Why do you need that? Well, I'm going to prepare a net sheet for you to show how much you'd walk away with. And you should have clarified, if I brought a buyer and you were willing to pay me that fee, I want to show you how much exactly you're going to walk away with, because there's fees that are involved in the sale of the home for you that are over and above anything that I would require. And I'd like you to have a good idea of exactly what that looks like. When you can do that for people when you're talking to them, they're far more willing to acquiesce, not only just to work with you, but to give you the information you need. So as far as the good side, though, you got the script down. You're comfortable on the phone. You ask good questions. You're not afraid to ask questions. You know, you're leading towards a path of getting what you want. I just think that your tonality and some of the words used in your questions could be softened a little bit. Other than that, you know, that's my feedback.
And
Thank you.
Thank you. And bravo, listen, I want to, just real quickly, I want to applaud you for stepping up and role playing and everybody. I want to give you some props for that too. That's a big deal. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, that is a big deal. Thank you, Eddie. He's been the first to put his numbers in the metrics
So
shot caller EOD form too. He's the first one to do it. My comments there, tonality, we went over that. Rapport, changing some of the verbiage up would have helped you build more rapport at alone. 2 questions that I really like in FSBOs. Is there a point at which you might be willing to work with an agent if the home does not sell on its own, right? That's one thing I just want to know if they're open to that idea. And then also, you know, when you get that guy who's not listing his house, you know, let's make a deal. The last thing I'm going to do is ask you to list your home with me, all right? And the only way that you would ever do that, first of all, is if you felt 100% comfortable that for some reason I was going to be able to get you more money, right? That's the only way that you'd let me sell your home for you. And so let's agree, if you don't believe that, then I won't ask you to list your home. But just take that pressure off, right? There's no obligation. The last thing I'm going to do is ask you to list your home. Now, if you decide that because of my marketing or because of my network with other agents in the community, if you think that that's going to help you get the home sold and get it sold for more money, then I'd be happy to help you, right? But let's make a deal. We won't talk about listing your home unless you want to bring it up. At least you can get in the door, and I'm confident that with your person-to-person skills and the added rapport that you'll build face-to-face, you might be able to get a little bit farther down that road. And with the understanding that FSBOs, they're not going to list immediately. This is like a third, this is a multi-touch close, right, Wally?
multi-touch.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not going over there. You can, not to say that you shouldn't, but I should also understand that meeting with a FSBO should not always be met under the expectation that I'm going to get listing paperwork signed, right? It's the understanding that I'm going to get in there, maybe build rapport. If everything sounds good, there's solid motivation. They'd be willing to work with an agent if 30, 45 days down the road, they haven't gotten anything. If all those are aligned, I'm comfortable with the answers, then meeting is a different story if it's done not under the expectation of signing listing paperwork. Would you agree with that, Wally?
100%. And I mean, from my perspective, and here's my thought process. And just from the, and I can share with everybody. I can share with Jeff. I've actually written out like a whole process on how you would handle something at the house and actually create doubt for the seller about selling the homes themselves, their home themselves. Just here's the deal. You can do so much more face-to-face that you can't do over the phone. It's hard to convince anybody of anything over the phone, to list their home with you, to talk about commission. It's impossible to have any discussion. So the way we do it is not unlike what Eddie did, and we test too. Listen, if there comes a time when you're ready to list your home, would you be open to interviewing with me? And then at the end of the script, if there comes a time, at the end, it says basically, when you are ready to sell, interview agents, and I can show you a way that I can save you money in the sale of your home, would you be willing to let me come and interview for the job? But it's all predicated on if you are, when you're ready, very soft. And the rest of it's about, hey, listen, I want to see if your home matches any of my buyer's criteria. When can I come over and take a look at your home? And then a 3-step process of creating doubt and establishing yourself as an authority, building credibility while you're at the house, to the point where you can then have conversations with people about, hey, listen, here's this chart from the National Association of Realtors, and what it says is that the average homeowner leaves 13 to 15% of their equity on the table every year when they sell the home themselves. And while I respect your decision to sell your home yourself, all I know is that if you were to list your home with me, just let me put a sign in your front lawn and put it on the MLS, you'd save half of that yourself. The rest of it I can get back to you with negotiations and my ability to do a great job. When would be a good time for us to sit down so I can show you can put that 13% in your pocket rather than give it to the buyer? But you can't do that over the phone. You got to do it face-to-face. So I'm going to send Jeff this process. He can share it with you guys. I've written it all out. It tells you what to say and how you'd approach it at the house, so that when you get to the house, you can, come across as being genuinely helpful. You can create some doubt about selling the home themselves. You can build credibility. You can build authority, and you can build rapport. and put yourself in position to even get a listing appointment there, but definitely down the road because you're going to handle it differently than everybody else.
Bam.
I've got a call.
Yep. All right. See you, Wally.
Everybody, thank you.
On that note, we'll wrap things up on today's call. The last thing on the agenda, though, is I do want to visit the dashboard real quick and remind everybody to be plugged in and putting your numbers in. So let's see what this looks like right now. We've got Eddie at the top, 10,000 dials. 10,000 dials, 502 contacts. So what is that? 10% contact? No. Somebody help me out with that. And my brain isn't working. 2%? No. 20% contact rate. 20% contact rate, maybe something. Somebody's helping me out here in the chat, or not. Anyhow. Oh, here we go. Yeah, 5%. There we go. Thanks, Eddie. You got 5 on it. 5%. Eddie Jones, 10,000 dials, 502 contacts, 31 appointments. Tucker, 41 nurtures. Look at that. That is solid. 41 nurtures from 7,200 dials. 7,200 dials, 41 nurtures. So that is a nurture for every 175 dials. That's solid. So, you make $500 a day. There's 3 or 4 nurtures a day right there at that pace. Shout out to Corey, 2 appointments. Mark, 4 appointments. Donna, 2. Trina, I know you're about to get on here with 1. Leandre, Britannia, both had appointments. Nurtures, Donna, 7 nurtures. Trina, 2. Leandre, 3. Next time, let's talk about maybe what we can do to help you guys get some more nurtures. Right here on the dials, this is where it rides, though. 705. So just do 705 dials divided by the 7 nurtures, Donna. So you're a nurture for every 100 dials. You're not that far off from Tucker, who has 41 nurtures. He's 175 dials to get a nurture. So your nurture ratio is actually better. We just need to move the needle here on the dials. But there's no secret that these guys right here with the most dials are the ones that are leading the pack down here with the most appointments. And so we've only got 9 people putting their numbers in here. We've got to get more people. We've got 165 people in the group. So let's everybody make a push to put their numbers in, get other people on your team to put them in. Let's call out to the group and get everybody engaged. Let's upload some more calls before next week's call. And other than that, guys, have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you all next week. Keep smiling and dialing.